What's going on, everybody? Tanner Lee here of the Kicking Out podcast, and I am thrilled to be joined today by Pluggo. He is see the little pronunciation there on the name. He is the host of the Between Two Beards and For Exposure podcast, which is part of the Love Wrestling brand. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well. Way to pick up on the Sue version of my name, but I love it. It's awesome. Yeah, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. I'm psyched to be here, man.
Yes. For everybody that doesn't know, it's actually Pluggo is how you pronounce it. But Pluggo is the little bit that Sue Trent's mom maybe threw in there a little bit.
Over the last few years that I've been going by Pluggo, it's been called a few different things. So you learn to roll with it in this business. You know, I'd rather them say my name wrong than not say my name at all.
Got to lean into the gimmick, right?
That's right. 100%.
Well, once again, thanks for taking some time out of the afternoon to join me and just talk some wrestling. Well, first off, I saw you were at an exciting event yesterday, the Black Label Pro event over in Illinois.
Oh yes, Hamilton. That was such a good time. Little independent wrestling on your Saturday. So it was in Chicago, and I'm only about an hour and a half, hour 45 from there. So I said, why not make the trip? Sean Ross Sapp, friend of the Between Two Beards, was wrestling. I didn't want to miss that. And Shazza, friend of LPW. So I had to go out and support them. Plus, I just love Black Label Pro. I think they don't get enough love for how fun they make their events and how much they put into those. And it was just a really fun time. They were really cool. They let me record For Exposure on location last night or yesterday morning, which was really nice of them. Very cool of them to let me in, just a little old me. So yeah, I had a really fun time, man. It was a good card too. Lots of fun. Gangrel was there.
Yeah, I saw that on the poster. Yeah.
Every time I see that guy pop up, I'm like, he's still going. Good for him. Good for him. So
one of the best there is as far as teachers out there. So I'm glad he's still going.
Yeah, so I got to see Gangrel wrestle in 2023. What a wild scene.
Oh, we'll get into talking about 2023 in the year of wrestling here in a bit.
Hell yeah.
2022 was wild, and 2023 said, "Here, hold my beer."
That's right. That's right. But it's not even over yet. There's still a month to go.
That's a great point. We probably have some other crazy things about to happen. So
yeah, we'll see.
But yeah, that's cool though. I know they've really been hyping up the Sean Ross Sapp and Shazza McKenzie match. So I was glad that went down. That was really cool. Everything, all the proceeds going to a good cause there.
Yeah, Nomni.org for mental health. They raised over $6,000. So shout out to them. Shout out to Sean Ross Sapp for doing that. I mean, he took all of his money that they were offering to pay him to be there. He put it towards the good fun. He wrestled. It was a good match for his first match in like 6 years. I had a really good time. I mean, I also got to see Violence is Forever versus Bang and Matthews to cap the night. What a tag team matchup that was. If anybody has Fight Plus, go out of your way and check out Hamilton from yesterday. It was so good.
Absolutely. So, well, let's talk about kind of your pro wrestling fandom background a little bit. So, what got you interested in pro wrestling and about what age?
I think like a lot of us, I'm going to show my age on this podcast a little bit. I was a kid. It was Monday Night Wars era. I was a WCW kid growing up because it was on an hour earlier and it was longer. So I thought more wrestling. That's the move, right? Doesn't matter. 3 hours opposed to 2. So I just remember growing up as a kid, like my sister I was me, my brother's sister. I was the oldest. She would watch Seventh Heaven at 7:00 every day or whatever it was. And I had to sit there and wait for that to be over because this is also the time where you didn't have a TV in every room or a device in your hand. You had to wait. So we had to sit there like this. Just pissed. Can I stay pissed on this podcast?
Oh, you can stay. It's open book.
I was way pissed off back in the day. I had to sit there 7:58, 7:59. We kick it over to Nitro. Me and my brother, we would wrestle around, try to imitate the moves. Broke a bunch of stuff. My mom, bless her heart, happy. So yeah, that's kind of where it started. Then the Monday Night Wars kicked off. The Attitude NWO, DX, all that kind of stuff really made me just like, as a kid, kind of fall just like in love with it. And then, of course, I think like some of us, when you get to that teenage years and those late teens, you kind of fall a little bit out of it. I still like paid attention, but I wasn't like I had to be at the TV every week because, you know, I'm being a teenager, out living life, doing my thing, whatever it may be. And honestly, like what got me like where we're at now, where it's just like I'm all deep dove in, is I had kids. And I'm home all the time now. And I need something to do. So I started putting on Monday Night Raw, watching Monday Night Raw again, getting more acclimated. This is around the time CM Punk was like at his peak. And I'm sure we'll talk about him, but that's my guy. That was my guy. CM Punk, I was like, I'm in. And then we've hit the ground running ever since.
Yep. Yeah, I can kind of relate to that. I mean, I grew up in Monday Night Wars era. And then actually I was pretty darn young towards the late 1990s. I'm showing my age here a little bit, but to where my parents, it was getting so edgy, my parents kind of made me stop watching for a little bit. So, and then I think I picked it up again about 03-ish, watched till through 06, then kind of was high school, teenage years, took a break a little bit. And then in college, I was flipping through channels and saw that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was back on Monday Night Raw. This would have been 2011. And ever since then, I've hooked, line, and sinker again.
I don't know how it is for kids now, but it was like wrestling wasn't that cool in high school.
Right.
I don't know what it is now. I have a couple kids. I have a kid in high school, and he tells his friends about the things that I do sometimes. I don't know if they think that's cool or not. I haven't asked any of them. Maybe I should. But I think that's part of it. It's like wrestling is kind of lame, isn't it? It's a little, but no, it's awesome. Wrestling is the best thing.
Yes. It's got.
I wish I would have leaned into it back in the day more than I had.
I do too. I do too. It's got something for everybody, and you know, on the Kicking Out podcast, we focus on AEW. That's our favorite promotion. That's the one we talk about the most. But we talk about other promotions from time to time too, and we always preach: watch your wrestling.
Yeah.
Whether 100%. I mean, you know, there's no specific promotion everybody's got to watch, or no match that's for everybody. Just whatever you like.
If I could soapbox for a second, if you don't like something, just change the channel. That doesn't mean
that, right?
I don't understand why we're trying as a IWC to try to break down more wrestling on TV every day is better for everyone.
Exactly.
There are certain wrestlers I don't like. I don't watch them or promote. I just turn to the channel. I don't go, oh my God, I can't believe you like because wrestling is subjective. Everybody's right. Everybody's wrong. If you like CM Punk, then you're right. If you don't like CM Punk, you're also right. It's okay.
Yes, it's okay to have differing opinions, but you know, on social media and X, I guess we'll call it now instead of Twitter, especially, you have so many people fighting, and that's another reason why I wanted to have you on. I want, as a pro wrestling podcast, I want to have other podcasts on and just spread some positivity, the pro wrestling world, because I feel like the toxicity is just a little too extreme at times on the IWC.
That's what we try to do over on Love Wrestling. That's one of the main manifests. Is like just be positive, and you could not like something, but like let's try to at least find some good in things and have some fun with it. It's wrestling after all.
Yes.
It's just pro wrestling.
Yes. Well, who are I know you're a CM Punk guy. It sounds like. Besides Punk, who are some of your favorites from back in the day, and some of your favorites in present day?
Oh, back in the day. So if we go way back machine, I was a big NWO guy. I just thought that was so cool. And I get flack for it, but for some reason I have vivid memories of just thinking Buff Bagwell was just so much fun.
Up the stuff.
Is he my all-time favorite? No, but I have to give him his kudos for keeping like 12-year-old me like entertained. But I kind of gravitated towards like Mankind was my guy, Mick Foley, because he's a guy that kind of like his book's sitting behind me somewhere. Just a guy that kind of looked like me, wasn't your prototypical wrestler, and just like anything you gave him to do, he like went above and beyond and knocked it out of the park. So I was always a huge Mick Foley guy growing up. And then, like I said, CM Punk, of course, remade me fall back in love with the sport and like realize like this could be something where I'm sitting here talking to you. Who knows? You know what I mean? Right. But yeah, Heath Slater, my guy behind me. Love me some Heath Slater. I love guys that like guys or gals, I should say, because I'm a huge fan of all of wrestling, like that play their role, that do their role and play it. Like Heath Slater, sure, he doesn't win major championships, but every time he's out there, he's entertaining. He's doing the job that he was given, and he's giving 100% at it. I gravitate towards those type of wrestlers, to be honest with you.
Sure, that's a good way to do it, because at the end of the day, that's their job, to entertain us.
Yeah,
and for us to be entertained. So yeah, 100%.
Yeah, oh, love it.
How about favorite matches of all time? I know this is a tough one because there's probably
so many. Yeah. But I always, whenever I'm asked this question, I always default to Punk Cena Money in the Bank, Chicago.
That's a great one.
Just all the lead up to it, all the build. I was one of those anti John Cena guys, but it's one of those things where it's like you love to hate the guy. He's a good wrestler. Sure. If I ever talk about how I didn't like a wrestler, 9 times out of 10, it's just because I'm talking in character, not the person themselves.
Right.
But yeah, so Punk Cena, Money in the Bank. He's leaving with the belt. Vince comes out. He tries to stop it. He can't stop it. Punk walks that title up, just leaves. And again, at this point in my fandom, I know it's scripted. I understand that it's not real, but I'm not in the dirt sheets. I'm not online watching like, Meltzer and stuff. And I'm just still enjoying the product as the product happens. And I'm like, that's so cool. Like, did they let him leave with the belt? Because why wouldn't they? Right. Turns out they signed him. He came back like 2 weeks later. They kind of dropped the ball on that one, but hey.
Yeah, but it was still a great moment. I mean, blowing the kiss at Vince, getting up there through the aisle.
Yeah,
that was one of those moments that will stand the test of time for sure. And a guy that has many moments that are going to stand through the test of time, even just the last couple of years. Probably.
Yeah, the guy I was talking about it the other day. It's absolutely impressive that he's been able to stay as relevant as he has, considering he's not your prototypical wrestling type. When he was around, he wasn't 6'8", 260, completely ripped. He was different, and he's somehow managed to just stay on everybody's radar for this long. Like, kudos to him. Like,
oh yeah.
Say what you want about him, but they're chanting his name every big return. I fell victim to thinking it was going to be CM Punk.
Yep.
I always joke that I reset the counter. If he wouldn't have shown up at Survivor Series, well, let me reset the counter. I fell for it again. So.
Yep. He knows how to get talked about. He knows how to stir the pot. He's a genius in that sort of thing.
I know. If I had an ounce of what he's got, man,
oh my gosh,
where I'd be.
Oh my gosh. But like I said, Kicking Out Podcast, we do specify in AEW where, more particular, we do live Dynamite reviews. On weekly Dynamite reviews. So what are your thoughts on AEW when it was launched back in 2019, which is hard to believe it's been that long already? What were your initial thoughts, and what do you think of the product now 4 or so years later?
My initial thoughts, if I'm being honest with you, I was, no pun intended, I was all in on it. I was all in on, like, here's a new wrestling promotion. Here's something. This is early on in my podcasting / running wrestling page days. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I just started to, like, I was WWE heavy, started to kind of branch out a little bit more. And I ran into, like, Omega, the Young Bucks, the Cody stuff. And it's like, and I liked it. I did. I said, oh my gosh, like, why not? Another promotion that's going to compete with WWE, or at least give you, like they claim, the alternative.
Right.
And I liked all the things that they said. I liked I liked the records. I liked the power rankings for a long time. I thought that was a good idea. I did think it was a huge misstep on their part to say we're going to be sports based, because it's really hard to be strictly sports based in wrestling.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the thing that everybody complains about, going like, oh, I thought you guys were going to be a sports based alternative. It's pro wrestling. Like they made one slip up when they had that press conference. And, But yeah, no, I was all for it. We're big AEW fans over at Love Wrestling, over at Between Two Beards. JPJ, my wonderful co-host. We talk about it as much as we can. I do think that they've had some stops, they've had some starts.
Oh yeah.
They're still young. I know that it's crazy, and I don't want to sound like a complete, AEW apologist and say they've never screwed up and they're the best thing ever. They've made mistakes, but they are only 4 or 5 years into this thing. So, there's some growing pains, and
people forget that. I feel like.
And again, Tony Khan has shot himself in the foot with some of the things that he said or done. So it's not all on him, but you learn from this and you grow from it. And I think right now we're in a really good, interesting place where they have an opportunity to kind of regain some of that footing they lost when CM Punk left.
Yep.
But yeah, I love it, man. I am pro more wrestling on TV. Like if another company wants to start up tomorrow, I'm going to give you a shot. I'm going to watch you. I'm going to give you a legitimate chance. And if I don't find it to be entertaining, then I might, because there's only so many hours in the day.
Oh, right.
There's only so much time. So I unfortunately can't watch wrestling 24 hours a day, but I'll give you a shot and I'll fit you in if I deem it worthy enough, I guess. I don't want to sound like some elitist, but
No, I'm right. I think that's a great way to look at it. I mean, there was that one time, at least on major television, where we had one option. Now we have a lot of options, and maybe not so much on major television, but with the world of streaming now.
This is what I call this the golden era of professional wrestling. I know other people say the 80s are the golden era. I say no, because if I want anything from any point in wrestling history, all I gotta do is push a button and it's right there. And that's why I don't understand people that just dump on AEW or WWE and say it's crap. Like, you don't have to watch it. We're not forcing you. It's not the only option in town. Like I said, there's plenty of amazing independents out there. There's plenty of major, every night of the week, you name it. You got Raw, you got SmackDown, you got GCW's running, you got Impact, you got AEW. Every night you got something.
Got New Japan.
New Japan, there you go. New Japan as well. NWA, if that's your cup of tea.
Yeah. So it's the more the
even they got some really good stuff going on there. It's just unfortunate that all of the other stuff outweighs the really good stuff that they've got. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, no, that's a nice way to put it. Yeah, I've been a little harsh on our podcast about the NWA and some of the decisions they've had lately, but they've done some good stuff.
There's some really awesome people there doing some really cool work, but unfortunately,
In independent wise, there's more, and I know we talked about at the start of the show. There's more independent wrestling out there now than ever, and there's a lot of good promotions. I know one of them's in there. One of them that I enjoy to follow a little bit is right in your backyard, Warrior Wrestling.
Yeah, Warrior. I think if you see, there's some posters back there. Warrior's fun. I try to go whenever they're in town. That's another independent wrestling promotion that just always puts on a good time and is there for the fans, and it's always fun. So when they're in my city, I try to make it out. I haven't ventured out to a Warrior Wrestling show that isn't in my hometown yet,
right.
But that's on the bucket list. But Warrior does a great job. GCW, Defy, Black Label Pro, Wrestling Revolver, LPW, my home promotion. And honestly, I'm not just saying that because I work for Love Wrestling. That wrestling promotion does a fantastic job every last Friday of the month. It's one of the best productions I've seen on the independent scene, and all the people rule there. So I'm going to put them over.
Oh, as you should.
Anything you want, you name it, it's out there in the wrestling world for you to have if you like wrestling. So
100%. Great time to be a pro wrestling fan, as I say quite often. So, all right, well, let's talk about CM Punk a little bit. He shocked everybody a little bit, or maybe not everybody, but most of the wrestling world by making his triumphant return to the WWE for the first time since 2014 at Survivor Series in his hometown, Chicago Allstate Arena. It was a moment, I got to be honest, I didn't think we'd ever see it again. I really didn't. I thought there was too many hatches to be buried. But then in the back of my mind, I'm like, Tanner, you know better than to think that, because never say never in the world of pro wrestling. And let's see what other relationships have been patched up.
And money talks.
Oh, and money talks. Bruno, the Warrior, Bret Hart, Eric Bischoff. If any of those guys can show up in WWE again, or like when Bischoff did.
Even Paul Heyman, to an extent, he was burying that company in ECW days, and he's the focal point of the bloodline right now.
And it's one of those things. I think if Vince McMahon was still in the fold more than he is, maybe it doesn't happen. but that Triple H, Paul Levesque, Hunter, whatever you want to call him, since he kind of orchestrates a lot of the communication that makes these returns and patching up of relationships happen. So I think it was kind of he hit on it in the Survivor Series post media scrum. I think it was just catching lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, I think the timing worked out perfect. I am kicking myself for not going to either CM Punk return at United Center or because Chicago's not that far away, but
Nope.
the damn holiday weekend, I had to, I was like, and I work retail for the shoot job, and I was like, Black Friday weekend, it's just not going to work out.
Yeah.
They're not going to work out the best for me, but yeah, he's back. I would like to think I was surprised. I sat there and I was watching Survivor Series, and right when they panned out to the cage, I thought, okay, they're ending it a little early. There was
copyright.
Real copyright. It is a few minutes early, but I thought, it happens. Maybe they ran short. And then like his music hits, and my initial reaction was just like, son of a bitch, they did it. they did it. Like I just was more of like, I wasn't like over the top about it. I was just like, oh my God, he's here. He comes out and he doesn't have to say anything. We had talked about that, me and my co-host, for like months leading up to it, whenever some news broke about it. Like he didn't have to come out, he didn't have to say anything at that moment. I know there were some people that were like, oh, is he the fifth member? Like that wouldn't have made much sense. So the way that they played it with Randy, I think worked out really well, threw you off the set. And that's good. He's back. He cut that promo on Monday that I know a lot of people didn't like. I didn't think it was his best work, but I also thought, what else is the guy going to say? He's not going to show up day one and eviscerate AEW and get into a pissing match with his former employer, because then that would kind of, I think, take away from him just being there. Being in that is the moment, right? Being in WWE for the first time since 2014 is the moment, is the vibe. And I think he was fine. Well, I'm interested to see how he plays it. And of course, at the end there, he threw that I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money. So he's still CM punking it up a little bit. But I'm super intrigued onto what they do with him going forward. I'm assuming he's signed a multi-year deal. He's going to be on TV. I don't know if he's going to be on Raw or SmackDown, but we'll see.
Yeah. It's, like you said, he is arguably the most popular figure in professional wrestling, because he's always talked about, he moves merch, unlike many others can.
And they had that shirt design up real quick.
That was fast, wasn't it?
Real fast. I jumped on Twitter and I was like, oh, they're already promoting the shirt. But he's a polarizing figure. I mean, it is what it is. Like I said, you love him or hate him, you're going to tune in to see what he does. Mm-hmm. And I will say, I will proceed with caution in terms of, I don't want to get my hopes up, but I hope that this works out for him. I hope that I enjoy selfishly him on my television screen as a wrestling personality. I enjoy what he does. I can't help myself. I get hooked when he does his thing. That's my guy. So, but we'll see. I'm going to hope that this doesn't turn into a big deal like it did in AEW and become because that got kind of tired. I will say covering it where it's like, oh my God, it's all in. It's the biggest show in the company history, and you're getting to a pissing contest in the back. Like, do we have to do this? Did you guys have to overshadow this? So hopefully all is well. That's all I can hope for.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, I hope, even as a guy who's a bigger AEW fan than I am WWE, I hope it goes well for him and everybody involved, because I wish it would have worked out in AEW, but it didn't.
I did too. I thought they were telling some good stories. I thought he came in with a good mindset. But he's got a track record of not being happy anywhere he's gone so far. So let's hope that maybe he's waking up. He said all the right things on Monday night. So I'm good again. Benefit of the doubt. We'll proceed with caution. I'm excited he's back.
Yep. And I thought you mentioned a good thing there, it kind of getting tiring of this constant backstage stuff in AEW. And that's how we were getting too, because we're like, every time they're putting on good matches or good shows, we're not talking about that coming out of a pay-per-view. We're talking about some stupid backstage drama. And let's be honest, we shouldn't even really know about, because wrestlers, it's just too bad wrestlers don't keep their mouths shut when that stuff happens like they used to. But because
Yeah.
I'm not blaming it on the Meltzers or even Sean Ross Sapp. Those guys all do a great job. I mean, I think Fightful is the best $5 you can spend every month. Little plug there for Fightful, but so I'm not blaming them at all. They got a job to do, but I just wish the wrestlers could keep the problems in house a little bit.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. As somebody that covers wrestling for, I don't want to say a living, for a hobby, because I don't make any money at this.
Yes,
but for my hobby, more backstage news is good. I just was super bummed. Like, all the brawl out happens, and like, tell me something that happened on that card. You forgot right. Because like, but it was a good show. It was
overshadows MJF's big return.
Overshadowed. MJF was back, and then just the All In stuff. Like, that should have been a huge moment. And we're talking about, real glass versus fake glass, and Punk's fighting Jack Perry. Almost didn't come out for the match. Would have ruined like Samoa Joe's big moment. And whether he's right or AEW was right or whatever, it just was like, guys, like, at some point, like, let's talk about the wrestling. And it just was like, so I was a little heated, and I did at one point think, for AEW's sake, I didn't think it was worth it. I didn't know because he also, let's be honest, he was hurt for most of that run. Yeah. Unfortunately. So it was kind of like you stopped and you started a bunch of stuff, and then he came back, you put the belt on him, he got injured, you had to take the belt off of him, you give him a show. It's just, I think that AEW, believe it or not, is better off with him not there. I know that the ratings and the star power and everything takes a hurt, but I think you can build that back up. I really do.
Yeah, and that's one thing. I did a podcast just last week talking about his return and what it could mean for AEW, how they should respond. And I said, and I'm glad they followed up Wednesday, responding kind of how I wanted them to. I said, don't put focus on it. Just focus on your talent. Yeah. Focus on telling better stories, putting on better matches, get back to your groundwork of 2019 and start building that trust again.
When he left the first time, that post Dynamite was fantastic. You had Mox come out, rally the troops. They put on these banger matches. They highlighted young talent that everybody has been wanting to see on TV, and it was like they started building something, and I was really positive about it. Then they brought him back, and it fumbled again for whatever reason, and they have to start again. So yeah, they've got to start over again. I like the way they started. So just keep that mindset, build the people you got, and keep rolling with that. Don't even mention it. I know that Tony Khan doesn't have a mandate for what you can and can't say, but if I'm Tony Khan, I'm saying, guys, let's not even take shots at him. Just leave it alone. And let's focus on what we can do as a company. And this is coming from a kid that loved the Monday Night Wars, right?
I know.
Love the pot shots. But I think in this particular instance, just let it go.
Yep.
You tried it. You had to try it. I said everybody would have signed CM Punk in that moment. You have to give it a shot. If you get an opportunity to get him, it didn't work. Let's not dwell on it. Let's just build.
Yep. So, both sides move on and hope for the best for both sides. And
let's hope.
And let's keep it rolling. But one thing I did want to bring up about AEW, because I think this is something that if anybody who has an interest in AEW, I think we can all agree, if not, in my opinion, we should all agree, is the misusage of the women's division. I'm just being honest, because I ran about it every single week. I'm a broken record at this point. But I will say
they did better.
They did better last night on Collision. I will say that.
It's getting better, but this has been an argument or a debate for years since they started. And I just posted that Britt Baker. I know it was in kayfabe, her stat about no promo work in 2023, and I had a bunch of people like, "Well, what do you want them to do? Just book them better." Like, there's just no reason that Britt Baker's not doing something right now. There's no reason that you have one promo segment match done all in 15 minutes. Spread it out. Give these women more to do on your flagship program, on Dynamite specifically. They're doing good stuff on Rampage, Collision, but Dynamite is the program. And it feels very like plug and play with their champions. Like, oh, well, it's your turn. We'll heat you up for a week, put you in, take you out, put you in, take you out. And there's good talent there. And I know that was always the argument. They're not TV ready. Well, the only way to get TV ready is to do it. right? I would think.
Right.
I don't know.
Right. I would.
I'm just Pluggo. I don't know. But they but yeah, it's a stop and a start, and there's so much good talent there, and I think they're getting better. They have been showing some gradual improvement over the last like month or so in terms of how they've been booking things. The Athena, I really feel bad that Athena and the Billy Starks thing is on ROH because that's one of the best things going that Tony Khan's ever done in terms of the women's division. So hopefully they figured out. I don't have the right answer. I don't know if I'm the person that has the right answer. I just know optically what I see on Wednesday nights, especially, is like it's 9:30. Here's the promo. Here's the match. We're done.
Yep.
I mean, you can name, I think, Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, and then Hikaru Shida and Saraya, or was it Toni Storm? That was the two main events that Dynamite's had that were women. Maybe they've had 3. I mean, come on.
Yeah. It's, I mean, they got so much depth and so much. I mean, that roster is deep, but it's just, like I said, they got too much depth and talent to have one women's match per show. I mean, you got enough time.
And not even that. They have, it's like one women's storyline going on Dynamite. Like, why can't we have something going on? Why can't you interject some of these promos, spread it out, make it feel like there's women throughout the show, opposed to just like I said, 9:30. That's been the joke. And it's sad, but I mean, Toni Storm's doing fantastic work as timeless Toni Storm. Hikaru Shida's always a great failsafe if you need a champion. Like you said, but like Thunder Rosa, when she gets back, like Britt Baker's sitting there. And now everybody claims that she's part of this Devil storyline, so that's why she's not doing anything. But I just find it hard pressed that you can't find something for Britt Baker to do in the interim, or just even like have her doing something. So it's not like we're hoping she's part of this Devil storyline and she turns out not to be. How disappointing would that be?
Right.
Because everybody that's pro, there's plenty of women's time, are saying, well, Britt Baker's part of the MJF Adam Cole storyline. If she's not part of it, then what are you doing?
Exactly. So. And I have enjoyed that storyline. I think it's one of the better things AEW's done in a while. If you were to predict, who do you think the Devil is, or who do you think some of the henchmen are?
I don't know, but that Devil looked pretty big the other day. Wardlow-esque big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, and his hair right after that segment was kind of messy there.
I picked Marco Stunt to be the Devil, but I picked Marco Stunt for every big return now. I love me some Marco Stunt, but I don't know. I would say it's probably Wardlow. I don't know who you would put with Wardlow. If based on, because they said like the people that are in the suits are the people that are the henchmen. I don't know. I'm not great at that. I'm not great at predicting like who it's going to be. And like, because we've seen some, like, I don't want to say it in a negative sense, but some like off the wall kind of groups show up. Like, you remember that like Big Bill, Lee Moriarty, like they had that group with MJF when he came back. Like that was kind of out there. Believe it or not, like Bullet Club Gold was kind of like, oh, the Ass Boys are in this now. Like it was kind of, but it works for them. So I'm gonna just play it out, see who's under the mask. I'm hoping that it all works out and it makes sense. But I love that MJF is like, everybody is coming for him, and unfortunately, I heard he's hurt right now. He's got the labrum, so hopefully he can make it through. It looks like I would assume if he can, he's probably dropping that belt, I would imagine, to Samoa Joe now.
I would assume too. Yeah.
But I mean, he's been killing it. So, but yeah, like we'll see how it goes. I just love that everybody's going for that belt. That's how it should be.
Oh yes, that's 100%. That's the grand prize, right? So
and not to like tribalism or anything, but in WWE sometimes it feels like not everybody's going after Roman Reigns. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels like, well, it's your turn. Like I love that they figured it out in AEW where it's like, all right, he's got 7 guys that could possibly take this thing. And that's awesome.
Yep, and more coming in. I think because Will Ospreay, he's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
I think he is unbelievable in the ring. I mean, he's already stated he when he comes in, he's going for the top.
As he should. Will Ospreay, that's how you have the money left over to sign CM Punk.
Yeah, you're right.
You didn't throw the bag at Ospreay. That's going to be good too. I saw people complaining about that too. And I was like, how are you complaining about one of the best wrestlers in the world? Yeah. Maybe the best wrestler in the world. Yeah. You want to talk about favorite matches I've ever seen, but back in the day, that just reminds me, I went to Warrior. Him and Blake Christian tore it up for 45 minutes. Insane. Yeah. One of the best matches I've ever seen in person in my entire life.
Yeah,
he's going to be a huge deal for AEW once he gets.
Yeah, and I think we'll see him take his character level to the next level in AEW. I mean, he's always going to be great in the ring, but I think as far as developing his character, I think that'll be the time to.
Because in New Japan, it's not really super character based, so we'll see what he pulls off over here. And again, that was a huge deal that we kind of gloss over as a wrestling community because he's been in AEW before. But WWE was heavily interested in him, and Tony Khan's like, "Nope, I'm going to sign you before you're out of your New Japan contract. I'm going to work out a deal and throw even more money at you to get you." That's how big of a deal it was. So, like, I love it. I'm all for that.
Oh yeah, and I think I know we were talking about earlier how 2022 was a crazy year with drama in pro wrestling world. 2023 is like hold my beer with everything that's happened. 2024 maybe we won't get as much drama, but I think we're gonna start feeling the effects of the Monday Night War era as far as talents jumping back and forth. I think we're gonna see more talents next year jump back and forth than we have to date.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's good for business. It's good for competition. It's cool to see who's leaving, who's showing up. Like, Edge showing up, Adam Copeland showing up in AEW, crazy, right? Like CM Punk shows up in WWE, that's crazy, right? Like it's cool. I'm all for it. I want more of it. And then there's a lot of contracts up to 24. Well, the thing was WWE was always like, well, we don't pay attention to what they're doing over there. You'd be crazy if you're the WWE to not have an eye on a Ricky Starks or Britt Baker or MJF Wardlow. Like, you would be crazy to not at least have somebody watching the product going, hey, if these people's contracts come up, man, we could really do something with them. Look what they did. I know that they kind of stalled it out. Look what they did with Jade Cargill, who they made her feel like an absolute star when they signed her. They haven't figured out what to do with her yet. I'm still waiting that out. I'm a huge Jade Cargill fan, so I
she's
think
money.
They'll figure it out. But that's what I'm saying. Like, you'd be crazy to not go, hey, Ricky, when's that contract up? Come on over here. You'd be a killer on NXT right now. You know what I mean? I'm psyched for it. I can't wait to see what 2024 brings. There'll be drama. Don't worry. There's always drama in wrestling.
There will. You're right. There will be. But
listen. As much as I'm hopeful that it works out, when those two main event WrestleMania spots don't go to CM Punk, you don't think there's going to be some murmurs out of that locker room that he's not happy?
Maybe I'm just very hopeful that night one's going to be him and Seth, and we don't have to worry about that. But
right, like that's
because I'm telling you, if night two is not this guy over my left shoulder here, that's Cody Rhodes. If you can't see,
Rhodes.
That's Cody. I'm a big Cody fan. If he doesn't get night two to finish his story, and then I'm going to create some drama myself on the IWC. So.
Listen, not to put more work on your plate, but if you need another guest, you should hit up my co-host JPJ. It is my goal. It's been my goal every week for a year to get on him about like, hey, when's Cody going to finish that story, bro? He gets livid. He goes off on it because he was so mad about it. I was mad about it when they didn't finish the Cody story. To the point where it's like, we're doing this again. They better. What if they don't finish it again?
I know. I was just thinking about this. I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before. I'm thinking, they've got to pull the trigger at 40, right? On Cody, they got to. But I'm like, but we all thought that last year. They're like, it was almost obvious that they were going to do it, and then they didn't do it. So I'm like, they could do it again.
I couldn't believe it. It was crazy. Night one of WrestleMania was fantastic. Night two was like, oh man, what happened?
I know.
It was like night and day. And then they don't pull the trigger with Cody Rhodes. And like, I was just sitting there just like, what just happened? So what are we going to do now? Like, when is the next move? How are we going to play this? And then of course, and then see, that's been like my biggest issue with it is like, well, I thought they should have pulled the trigger with Sammy. They had Cody in the fold. So Cody's the guy. Everybody told me when I was like, Sammy's the guy. He's hot right now. You pull that trigger. What a moment. everybody's like, well, we got Cody. We got Cody. We got
Mhm.
Cody. So let it play out. Then we
Yep.
get there. And then it wasn't Cody. Okay, so then you burnt Sammy. You burnt Cody, two of your best baby faces you've had in some time. It's just unfortunate that they all both happened right around the same time.
Right.
And then you had The Rock a couple months ago on College Game Day hinting at coming to be at 40. So how do you not do Rock and Roman if you potentially have Rock and Roman? So now that's going to kind of be like, well, we got Cody though. We got Cody though. But then what if we get the Rock and Roman? You're not going to not do Rock and Roman. It's just like, oh my God, they should have pulled the trigger right there. It was perfect. WrestleMania 39. He comes in, he finishes his story. He left the company. He did his thing. He came back. He's the top baby face we've seen in quite some time. And they just went, nope.
Yep.
Oh man, so disappointing.
Yep. I'm
And now you got little kids asking Cody when he's finishing the story. I saw some little TikToks of some kids with the sign, when are you going to finish the story? It's like, Jesus.
Well, I saw an interesting theory the other day, and I hadn't even thought about it. I'm like, this could be the ultimate heartbreaker. Somebody said, what if Cody wins at 40 and he's sitting there, celebrating, finally did what his dad couldn't do. Priest's music hits, he comes out, cashes in, takes the title right off Cody. Just like they took the title right off Dusty.
I'm kind of here for that. That's chaos. That's some chaos that I'd be like, oh man.
I mean, roller coaster of emotions.
I wouldn't even be mad at him. I'd be like, well done. But
that would be some good storytelling. So,
well, and we'll see how it goes. I don't know if Cody's better as a chase because we've never seen him in this role. So I don't know if he's better as the chase or if he's better as the champion. They haven't given us an opportunity to see him as the champion. And right now his story is kind of been a little all over the place. So we'll see if they reel it back in. He's with Shinsuke now, which would be fun.
Yeah.
To lead up to Royal Rumble. He announced the Royal Rumble. My thing is it too much? I know that you like talking AEW, but it's WWE, but is it too much of a slam dunk to have him win the Rumble twice back to back and challenge Roman back? It just feels like, all right, we're going to do the exact same thing, only this time we're going to get it right.
I think if you have him do it, you have to have him enter one and go the whole way.
Okay.
I think that's, in my opinion, the only way you can do it.
Okay. All right. I see. Because now you might have CM Punk in that Rumble. There's 2 belts to go after this year opposed to the 1. So maybe you could have somebody win the Royal Rumble and challenge Seth and then have Cody somehow figure out a way. There's just a lot of legwork to get there if he doesn't win the Royal Rumble because they're not on the same show.
But, and I feel like there's been leg work since they didn't pull the trigger last year.
Yeah.
So.
Well, no, and of course, now granted, selfishly, one of the best moments of my wrestling media career was I got Cody Rhodes to yell yeet at Fastlane, but I didn't need Jay and Cody together, but it worked out for me.
Oh, fantastic work by you, by the way. I didn't know that was you, but fantastic work.
That was me. So that's why I said, I didn't need it. I wasn't a big fan of them being together. I didn't understand it, but then I'm sitting there at that press conference and I got to ask my question early on. And then they didn't call on me because I was kind of in the front. It's my first press conference and I'm in the front row and you kind of raise your hand to get the mic and then somebody brings it to you. But I didn't want to be obnoxious because I'm literally 5 feet from Cody Rhodes. We could have probably reached out and high-fived if we wanted to. But I'm sitting there and the guy next to me asks a really hard-hitting question. And I was like, the last question of the press conference has to be something fun. So I was trying to get the mic to ask. And I said, fuck it. If I could say that, fuck it.
Oh, yes.
I may never do this again. And I'm like, Cody, you got to yeet. And that's when you see him stop. And he's like, I said, you got to yeet. Jay's been eating. It's your turn. You got to say yeet. And he stops it and he yells yeet. And I was just like, that was me. The WWE Universe, you're welcome.
Now it's a shirt.
Now it's a shirt. Now he's getting chanted to yell yeet at live events. So I'm pretty proud of myself for being the first Cody Rhodes yeet on camera. But I didn't need him and Jey Uso together. I want this story to finish or make sense because he's not, we'll see where he goes. The Shinsuke thing will be fun.
Yep.
Then we'll ramp up the road to WrestleMania. Cody will hopefully win it at 40. Because if he does, there's talk that he might not, because if Roman gets to SummerSlam, he beats Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
And it's don't.
And Roman's great and all, but as a wrestling fan, I want my champion to be on TV more. So
yeah,
that's
fair. Well, and that's the problem that they have right now is you've got Roman who's part-timing it up with the titles. You've got Logan Paul who's really kind of a part-timer. I mean, he's signed and he's going to be there. They just announced a tournament. So that's two of your belts right there that aren't on TV on a consistent enough basis. So what do? You know what I mean? Like tough. It's tough. So we'll see what happens. We'll let it play out, as they say.
Yeah, let it play out. Yeah. So, well, as we wrap up this interview here, explain a little more to everybody about your podcasts and even the brand you work with and what you guys offer and where everybody can find you.
Oh, explain about the podcast. How do I start? Well, I work for Love Wrestling, Love Wrestling CA on all social medias. Go check them out. They brought me into the fold a few years ago. I was doing some WrestleMania coverage for them and NWA Power coverage. That's how I got my start with them. Yeah. They were like, do you want to do it? And I was like, sure. And then not too long after that, I was on a WrestleMania Reacts with JPJ, my co-host of Between Two Beards. And we hadn't met. We've never talked before this. And he messages me off to the side. And he said, hey, man, I really enjoyed your vibe. I think we could do something here. You want to do something? Are you interested? And I was like, yeah, man, of course. And I ghosted him for 2 weeks because I was like, I had no idea what to do. Because I think there were so many good people doing so many good things where it's review shows and breakdowns. I'm not going to ever break down a 5-star match and be able to call it move for move. I'm kind of just this is how I feel about what I saw. So I didn't really have an idea and I didn't say anything. And he hits me back up and he goes, hey, do you got something? Do you want to do something? Let's do it, man. I'm itching. I said, okay. Let me think about this. And I pitched him Between Two Beards. He has a very long beard. I had a longer beard at the time. I said, it would just be two guys talking wrestling between two beards, kind of like Between Two Ferns. I'm not going to not say that that's not where that kind of spurned from. And I just told him, I said, I just want to be a podcast that's very free flowing. I don't want to come in and be we have to talk about this. I just want to see where the conversation takes us. I want to see where the fans take us. There'll be times that we'll have guests on. One of my favorite examples is we had Mr. Warren Hayes of the Mr. Warren Hayes show come on.
I've had him on too. Yep.
Warren is the best. He's actually the reason I am named Pluggo, but he came on and you got Warren Hayes on and he's got a great wrestling insight. We talked about geese for 45 minutes.
Love it.
We just went on this. Every time he comes on now, we talk about plants. We just, and that's kind of our vibe over there. Thursday nights, 8 p.m. We just, it's we'll see what happens. If we get guests on, cool. But if we don't, we'll figure something out. We'll talk about, we did Disney movie drafts, things like that. And just it's just a fun time. But of course we're going to talk about wrestling, but we talk about football too. And you never know who's going to pop in. We have a very open door policy with a lot of our past guests. Literally it'll be minutes before the show and somebody be hey, can I pop in? And we're yeah, sure, whatever. Come on by. So you never know who's going to show up. And it's been a lot of fun. We've been at it now for 130 some odd episodes. Crazy to think. Very cool. And I'm truly blessed to work with JPJ. He's a guy that gets me. Not everybody gets you in content creation. And trust me, I've had some people that I just don't understand it. It's not for me, but he gets me. He lets me do my thing. Love Wrestling Spencer has been amazing. He's let us do whatever we want really. And he's even been the butt of the jokes and he's the boss and he's very cool and been very dope to the point where I don't even know if I ever left, I don't know if I could ever leave these guys. I just love everybody there. Love Wrestling is a great place to work. And then of course I've got my other podcast that I just started a few months back with Blair Pacheco of Grainmaker Pod, another great guy talking independent wrestling. That was again, Blair got into the fold and me, Spencer, Zach, and JPJ, kind of the guys that have just been there forever. We're sitting there and Blair came in and we were this guy's good. We want to do more with him. Has anybody got any ideas? And I said, well, Blair loves independent wrestling. I love independent wrestling. we don't have anybody covering like the GCWs, the Black Label Pros that I talked about earlier. Like nobody's really covering that here. What do you think, Blair? And that's another guy that like just we hit the ground running. We clicked instantly. We're around the same age. We have the same similar interests, and like we just clicked. And he, you know, he's been any idea I throw at him, he's like, no, that sounds fun, man. Let's give it a shot. Like as crazy as it sounds, like I literally was like, hey, what do you think about me running our show last night from Black Label Pro if they're down? And he was like, you think so? And I was like, well, I'm going to shoot my shot. And it worked out really well. We had Shazza McKenzie stop by and SRS. So just like these crazy little ideas that I come up with, and then finding two co-hosts that like understand like my love for the sport and just like how goofy I could be. I couldn't be more happy. And then of course, love wrestling. I also can't say enough good things about, like, we got the brunch gimmick there. The Love Pro Wrestling that we do every month has been top-notch wrestling in Edmonton, and they've been nothing but gracious to us as content creators, like having those wrestlers, do interviews with them. I've got to interview a lot of cool people, a lot of fun things. So check out Love Wrestling. They're doing an awesome thing, and we're only getting bigger, man. So it's crazy to me, like the things I've gotten to do in this wrestling space that I never thought I was ever going to get to do when I was just some guy literally hiding out tweeting about wrestling like in secret, and then I decided to like come out of it, and just it's been nuts.
Just shoot your shot. That's all.
No, that's what I tweeted yesterday. If anybody leaves this podcast, they watch this podcast, they shoot it. You never know. Here's the thing: if you don't ask the question, you won't get the answer. You may ask the question. You may. I'm sure I can tell you how many times I've been left on red, but that one time that you're not, like it, you never know. Like you never know, like what fun thing will happen or what guests, like Warren Hayes that we talked about earlier. When I was just a wee little lad in the game, I was just starting out. He was, I was like, I should ask him. I should ask him to be on. And I was like, he'll say no. Yeah. And I asked him, and he came on, and he did one of my first ever interviews I've ever done. And I listened back to it every once in a while, and it was bad. I was awful, but he was gracious enough to give me that shot and give me that time. And now he's probably our like most been on the Between Two Beards the most. He's like one of our regular guests. 9 times out of 10 we hit him up, say, hey, you want to join us? He's usually available, so he'll come on, hang out with us. Like it's really cool that I was able to like get to a friendship level, like almost a mentorship with Warren Hayes, where it's like I just hit him up like, hey, what do you think of this? And he'll like say, you know, he'll give me advice. So it's crazy. So shoot your shot, fam. You never know. Like I am a living embodiment of like, what? That just happened?
Well, we're all just fans, right? and just trying to play this game. So you got to shoot your shot.
That's
what happens.
Yeah, exactly. You shoot a shot. Like that's the thing. I am a fan. of this. I will think. I swear to God, yesterday at Black Label Pro, I think I thanked everybody that helped me out with that 20 times.
Yeah.
And I don't ever want to lose. I know that people say act like you've been there before, but I've never been there before. So why would what I'm doing that has got me here? So I'm going to keep doing that. And I'm gonna be, and I love that it's still fun for me, and it's still, after like I've been doing this now for 5 years or so, like it's still fun, and I still get excited. And yes, it's a lot of work, and yes, there's some weeks that it's tougher than others, and it's like, man. But at the end of the day, I get to talk wrestling with people that I love, and I get to have fun and do really interesting things and work with great people, like-minded people. Like getting a chance to come on here is huge. Like, thank you so much for like having me come on. I was like, yeah, absolutely. I am in, man. I want to do this.
Well, it was kind of the same thing. I was like, you know, we've interacted a little bit here and there in social media, like on your Facebook page and stuff. I've interacted, but I'm like, I've never had a conversation with them actually. So I'm like, I'm just gonna shoot my shot and see if he wants to come on. So
well, hopefully I did okay, and you'll have me come back. You were awesome. I had a good. This was fun, man. Like I love doing these things. I love just sitting and talking, shooting the shit for however long about wrestling and life and whatever, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we'll definitely have you back on again. And before I let you go, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you and all of your content? And you have a great looking display behind you. I want to know your favorite piece that you got on there.
Shout out to Mrs. Pluggo for this. So my early podcast, real quick, was just a plain background. This is actually our laundry room, but it's the quietest room in the house because I have 4 kids. So I
Well, I
tried
have a
doing it.
dog that's been very noisy that I've been
Yeah.
trying to.
I can
He's out
hear
of
him
the
running
rooms.
around upstairs. But I tried doing some podcast in like our office bedroom, and the floors, it was still too loud, so I came down here. But yes, my favorite piece, I do love my Heath Slater You Got Kids poster.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably one of my favorites. Mrs. Pluggo made me a Blow in the Budget 101 book for
Very
the
cool.
insurance. I really don't know. Like, I got a lot of cool stuff. All my Warrior posters, getting to meet those people was awesome. It's just, yeah, she was like, basically it was a plain wall, and it had a sign that I had crudely wrote that said "Hi Mom" on the back. And then it said Team Hook as well for a
Like
long
it.
time. And what happened was we started to grow as a Between Two Beards podcast, and it started to get bigger and bigger. And like the guests started to get more and more. It's like, you got to look a little bit more professional than this, buddy. And so Mrs. Pluggo, it's actually, she had to buy a third shelf because I had filled up the first two so much with just junk.
Oh, that's great.
So I got like my AW figures. But yeah, my Heath Slater picture, man. I got kids. I love saying Heath Slater's my guy.
Yeah. No, I
So-
like the Funkos. I like the titles. I like the figures. I got some figures back here in
Yeah.
the corner of my office up here. So
I think if I go like this, there's even, there's more
Yeah.
up there.
yeah.
There's books of wrestling cards all over the place.
Love
Trust
it.
me.
Looks good. Looks good.
So yeah, shout out to my wife who's been my biggest supporter. She has seen the vision. She lets me she's like, I'm going downstairs to record. She's like, okay, have fun,
Perfect.
have a good show. So it'd be crazy if I didn't put her over. She'd be mad. I put her over on every other show.
Yeah, that's
She's
great.
become a character of the Between Two Beards
Oh,
lair.
that's awesome.
People stick up for her more than me.
As they should. I
As
mean,
they should.
you know.
You should. But yeah, I kind of like all of it. This is just like a cool. I've got like my Swerve Strickland rookie card autographed. I met Swerve. That was really dope. I met Brian Keith. He was cool. I took a headlock from Takeshita, so I got his card signed up there as well
nice.
over at Warrior. So yeah, I always like to joke that I took a headlock from Takeshita and survived.
Survived, yeah.
But yeah, like I said, just lots of fun little cool stories that I just enjoy. Maybe my run isn't as cool as some other people's, but to me, this is more than I ever sought out to do. So I'm just loving it and living it and just enjoying the ride.
Well, I think you're doing a good job, and keep on just pumping that content out there. Keep having fun with it. That's the name of the game. As long as we're having fun with it, that's the main thing in life. And let everybody know where they can find you on the social.
Right. Yeah, you did ask me to do that, and I just kind of went on a rant,
okay.
so I apologize. Right. But you can find me at Pluggo_ on Twitter, because somebody stole at Pluggo like 12 years ago and don't use the account. Right. But then it's Pluggo Loves Wrestling over on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm on Blue Sky and Threads as Pluggo. I don't use those as much, but I'm trying to start to incorporate that a little bit more. You can find the show page Between Two Beards at B2Beards on all social media platforms. Just that's where you'll keep up to date with what we got going on show wise, guests we got coming up, things we're planning on doing. There's a lot going on in the month of December for us, so head up that page. My co-host Shapey J and I would love that. More people, more eyes on that price. And then 4Exposure Pod at 4Exposure Pod only on Twitter. With Blair, Pacheco, and I, again, that's where you can stay up to date with when our show is going to be. Sometimes we move it from Saturdays depending on shoot job, or just, I think like I was at, like next week we're going to do a watch along with one of the independents instead of doing the show live at 10 because it's a big show. So yeah, that's where you can find them. And then at Love Wrestling CA on all social media, you can find me there doing interviews. I do interviews for the promotion. I've got a couple fun interviews coming up. I don't want to spoil them until they happen, but stay tuned to that. I've done some really fun interviews for the Love Pro Wrestling show on there. So if you want more Pluggo, that's where you can find me. I'm all over the place. And hey, shoot your shot. Hit me up in your DMs if you're watching. Who knows? I'll be glad to come on and talk to you.
Yeah, you won't regret it. Trust me.
He says that as we record, but when we leave this thing, he's going to be like, never again, this guy.
No, all seriousness, this has been great. Thank you for taking time to talk with me, and looking forward to having you on again in the future.
Oh, absolutely.